3, 2, 1.
Growing up Nigerian.
I'm very intentional about my relationship with my parents.
Very intentional. A lot of children are not.
Yes.
In this generation, I really don't think we put as much effort.
I think it is I think it's a bit of a cultural thing. So here's the thing. I feel like sometimes parents are busy parenting.
Hi. Welcome to Growing Up Nigerian, a podcast about the unique challenges Nigerian parents face as they prepare their wards for the harsh realities of adulthood. It is also a podcast that uncovers the issues children face as they navigate the Nigerian terrain. This podcast analyzes the concept around the developmental, psychological, and educational values and deep dives into age-long controversial issues surrounding raising a Nigerian child. So if you're a Nigerian parent, child, or someone passionate about child grooming, this podcast is for you.
Next time.
Stop!
When I say don't do that, you won't do it.
Please stop!
My friend, keep quiet.
This was almost an everyday occurrence in the house. Dad was out and Mommy had started on her usual home training, throwing slaps and punches at my younger sister as she sobbed, fighting the tears that trickled down her eyes. Her expression was a mask of hatred, reflecting how she felt inside. Every part of her being screamed the words, "I hate you, Mommy." But the words never left her bruised lips. Later in our room, the only safe place where we could express ourselves, my sister, with tears still in her eyes, whispered to me with a shaky voice,
I don't know why she hates me. Am I adopted?
The only thing I could do at the moment was hug her as I quietly pondered the question she had just asked. Why does Mommy hate us this much?
Mama Chizzy, why is everyone quiet? What's wrong with the girls? Why are they moody?
Please ignore them. I have told them before. I am their mother, and I will train them how I wish. If they don't like it, they can pack their things and leave my house. Ew.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Growing Up Nigerian. Growing Up Nigerian is your go-to podcast to, talk on all the controversial topics as regards, child upbringing and growth. As always, I'm here to talk on a topic, but I'm not here alone. I have a special guest with me. Her name is Miss Victoria Green. She is a human resource professional. Welcome, Miss Victoria.
Hello.
Hi. I'm super happy to have her here because I feel she would have so much to say on this topic. So today's topic is parental relationship. How does it shape the Nigerian child? So what do you think on the topic, Miss Victoria? Welcome again.
I think it's a pretty interesting topic. Primarily because I feel like a lot more young people are paying attention to conversations like this and how drawing the lines or trying to put the dots together as to how their lives, how everything in their life affects the current life that they're experiencing at the moment. So I think it's pretty interesting. It's really interesting.
So I think we'll just dive right into it. So I just want to have like a mental picture of how it was for you, like growing up, because everybody's growth is different, based on how many you guys were in your family, where you guys were growing up, like the area and all of that. So how was it like growing up?
Growing up was it was an experience, interestingly, and I'm laughing because growing up were a lot. For
like how many?
Most part of my life, there were a lot of people in my house. Well, in my father's house. I didn't show that I want to do that in my own house. But growing up, there were quite a number of people, quite a lot growing up. So we had cousins, a lot of extended family, friends, let somebody just come and say, they got on my leg, come
into the house.
They come to the house. Before you know, we're still recovering from the last set of people that
and now it's coming in.
Come to the house. So yeah, growing up, there were quite a lot of people in the house. So it sort of made the house have activity. Plenty of things was always happening, going on around. But then I think that there was a lot of intentionality that was brought into parenting for us growing up, a lot. So I can separate growing up with my parents and my siblings and growing up with extended family. I can literally draw a line.
Wow.
You know, because my mom, I feel like she was very conscious of the fact that there were more people in the house, so she needed to be sure that her children, you know, were still as centered as they can be. So growing up was a bit fun. And then of course we had the nice blend of disciplinarian parents. My mom was the one that will flog you on earth, and the host of heavens will be like, oh, please, enough. And then my dad was the one that was very strict.
Was he?
But he wouldn't flog.
Okay, so this is like two strict parents.
Yeah,
I thought it was like one would be strict, one would be calm, because that's how it was for me.
So my dad inadvertently was the calm guy, but he was still very strict. My mom is the straight up heated, like
bring that broom here.
My dad was the quiet. Okay, so for instance, I remember my dad one time. I think my brother was about maybe 16 or something. I can't remember, but he came to told my dad. My dad just coming from work or something. I can't remember. Told my dad that the evening that his friends were hosting a party and he wanted to attend the following day. I think it was a school night or something like that. And my dad didn't say anything to him. My dad just went on and went to the bathroom, took his bath, came out of the bathroom, called my brother and said to him, I don't want to ever hear you say that again. I moved on. That was the beginning and the end of the conversation.
He already knows.
So as much as he was calm, you know, he was still the straight.
I won't take any nonsense from you.
There was no. If it was my mom, there would have been an entire feed complete with sermons and preaching. But my dad just said his own. I moved on with his life.
I think it was quite different for me. It was more of like, it was just us. Like, we're three in our families. It was just us. It wasn't any extended family coming. No, go to school, you come back home. Everybody straight up. You go to church, you come back home. The family that you were bonding with was at home. So there wasn't any, like, really any friend coming over. And my mom would drill anyone you want to go to their house. Like, who is this girl? Who is this boy?
Oh no, we didn't go to people's houses. Oh, I mean, there were already too many people in the house. Where are you going to? Where are you finding?
Is there already everybody here?
I can tell you on hand, there were only two families that we could stay. We ever had sleepovers at. Now, one of them was my mom's younger sister's house, and even then, they slept in our house more. Maybe we slept in their house maybe 3 times.
Wow.
And then, so it was 2 of my mom's siblings. The other one was when we traveled home, and so we would stay with them, you know, for the holidays. But where are you? My mother's famous words. When she mommy want to go and visit, let them come to your house.
Let them come. Let them.
So it was pretty straightforward. So we didn't have any extra. The only extracurricular activities we had was my mom works in the bank, so they used to have an end of year party for children. My mom would carry us and go. Then my mom used to feel like a very eccentric parent. She would enter the car. Let's go to amusement park.
Oh, I love it.
I remember very well when ShopRite came out. When ShopRite first came out, my mom said she entered the car. She drove us to ShopRite, and we got there. I can't remember. I don't think between all of us we spent up to 500. Let me say, walk around, see what the place looks like.
Go around.
So that if your mates ask you, you know that you went there. We took our time, we enjoyed, and then I think we bought like random stuff that didn't mean anything. So my mom was that kind of person. That was the only issue. But besides that, go to school, go to church, go to fellowship. We had house fellowship a lot.
Okay, so from hearing you talk like this, it just shows like you were mainly closer to your mom. Or am I wrong? From what you've been saying so far, I'm getting that from what you've been saying, I think you're closer to your mom than you were with your dad. Or am I wrong?
You're not necessarily wrong. I would say that, I mean, it's difficult to say, it's difficult to measure, but I would say that I'm close to both my parents in the same measure.
Okay.
However, at different seasons of my life, I was closer to one person than the other. Yes.
I think there's some way I can relate. Growing up, I was closer to my dad. My dad was really like into them sporty things. My mom was really like, what's all this? So it was always my dad I would relate to. I'll go to him, we talk about this, talk about that. Then at some point, maybe because I was getting, my body was developing. So mommy. But I think right now, no, not so much. I think I know they're my parents, not close bonds. But right now, who are you closer to?
Right now, closer to both of them. Because I'm older, so there are a lot of things that have shifted in my relationship with them. So I was going to say that a caveat to the who I'm close to is I'm very intentional about my relationship with my parents. Very intentional.
A lot of children are not.
Yes.
In this generation, I really don't think we put as much effort.
I think it is I think it's a bit of a cultural thing. So here's the thing. I feel like sometimes parents are busy parenting. Life, see, as an adult, I can see how busy life can get. I have 3 siblings. I have an older brother and 2 younger sisters. And there was a point in my mom's life. My father wasn't in Lagos at the time. He was somewhere in another state for work.
Yeah.
And my mom was the only one in Lagos. My secondary school was in Ijede in Ikorodu. That's dan. After a day, Ikorodu something. My immediate younger sister was in Badagry in Cancun. It was in boarding school in Badagry, model college, something in Badagry. And there was one Sunday that both our visiting days clashed. So my mom first went from Badagry. So she went to church that morning. Of course, I have a younger sister that is in the school vicinity. So
wow.
You know, they had to be taken care of and catered to. So church happened, and then Musi went to church. After church, she went to Badagry first to see my younger sister do vicinity and everything. Then came to Ijede. I can tell you, like, it is two. So it's like saying that you went from, what's the farthest place? This is like Songotedo area.
Yes.
The farthest, if you can think, Lakwe. So it was like she went from Lakwe to Yaba. And then from Yaba back to Songotedo. Literally. And she still had to come back to Central Lagos after that. And she's going to Ovix the following morning.
The next morning.
You get, so I can understand how busy it can get. So sometimes they're just busy doing the thing. So what do you need per time? And then children sort of expect their parents to
give them the 100. And
not necessarily, just they expect their relationship should develop automatically. Because you've been with these people for the most part. You understand. But they don't understand, or what I feel like a few people have yet come to understand is that parents are human beings as well.
They are. So when we start to look at them from the point of view of they're human beings as well, you sort of start to pay attention to them, wanting to be so away from the scolding and away from the rules and regulations, because sometimes that's what a relationship with parents can be reduced to. Yes,
don't do this, don't do that. The money of school fees and money of pocket money, and I want this and I want that.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
But going the extra mile to talk to them about stuff can be a bit difficult.
You know, I think growing up I was guilty of that. I wouldn't even lie, because it was the whole, obviously, like, the rules were already set, so I already know, do well in school, come back home, you know, just follow the rules at home. But I don't think I necessarily was like, okay, how are you feeling today? Like, how is work? I think once in a while, but it wasn't like an intentional thing that I'm like, how they would care, like, okay, you're not feeling fine, they're already running heta. Okay, I don't think I was very intentional with saying, okay, come, daddy, do you need anything? Do you need me to? I don't think I necessarily was like that.
I wouldn't say it would automatically fall on you to want to do that. I would, because I can't say I was like that too growing up. I think I'm just an intuitive child generally, but I don't think I was doing that. I think that my relationship, the intentionality of my relationship sort of came to bear probably towards the end of my time in the university. I cannot necessarily say what triggered it. I just think it's adulthood. And I started paying attention to my parents more. So it wasn't like I was asking them, are you okay? Do you fall down?
Because I know some children are literally like that too. They are very, I think that's why my brother was very close to my mom, because it was always the, oh, mommy, are you okay? Mommy, let me get, and I wasn't really like that. I was really looking, and then at some point my brother now became close to my mom, and my sister was now close to my dad, because my dad was now like saying, okay, as the eldest, you need to do this. As the middle child, I was really just looking around like, is the love, man? Like, where is this love? So do you feel like your position as a child kind of like affects the relationship with individual parents? Like, if you were the last born, or if you're the first born, if you're the middle child, does it kind of like play a part in how well you would, you know, gel or, you know, foster a relationship with your parents?
Yes and no. Honestly, yes and no. So for the first part, I'm a technical firstborn. I have an older brother, but I'm an Ada. So I'm the first daughter. So that means that, first of all, there's quite a lot that I have to pay attention to, generally, just by the nature or by virtue of my positioning. But that could turn me either way. That could either make me not close or close, depending on how I choose to handle it.
Sure.
You get? So that's why I said yes or no. It can be any which way. Your positioning could mean that, like for middle children, it was maybe a couple of years, maybe about 5-7 years, I started paying attention to the role of how middle children feel sometimes. You know, middle children can be in between. They don't really know.
Neither here nor there.
Yeah, but at the same time, they have a space too. For instance, my immediate younger sister is a middle child, and by God does she have a presence of mind.
Love it.
And right now she's closer to my dad. She very likely will tell my dad everything that's on her mind before anybody else would hear. You understand what I mean? So I think you can still find your path regardless. Again, intentionality. What do you want to get out of this?
Yeah. So do you think like a parent-child relationship affects like a child growing up emotionally, physically, like while relating with other people? Do you think it affects it? Like how good your relationship with your parents, does it affect you?
You bring yourself to this one. Did we bring ourselves to this
We did not. But you know what? Like I know a lot of people that would say, you know, it was too strict at home, so I couldn't really, you know, share a part of me that would have loved to share with my mom, my dad. Yeah. So they would rather like rely on friends that pretty much at their age means that don't know anything, and then fall into like bad decision making. So does it really affect a child?
It does. It does. But I'll first say that in a small way, I'm a bit biased. I'm a parent's advocate. Maybe because I've started paying attention to a lot of things, and I can see the back end of certain things right now. So I would first say I'm a parent's advocate. I would say that first things first, I feel like a lot of young people need to understand that just like them, parents are hacking it. They are learning on the job. Literally. There's nobody who has a foolproof template on parenting, because nobody has been born into this world, raised a child or children, died and come back to this world as themselves, and to do it again. So there's everybody's hacking it as they go. However, I think that there has to be a lot of intention. See, having children is not for babies. There has to be a lot of intentionality when it comes to parenting, because children have no business in this world. They are judged in their own wherever they exist before they come to the world. And you now bring them down, then you don't pay attention to them. So, and again, I think that the requirements for intentional parenting has become more across generations. The children that were born in now, you want to not pay attention to them? You know, you want to not. So, it's children respond better when they are loved. I don't know if you have heard this very recent tag. This person is not loved at home. When children when children are loved at home, it reflects in how it does a
very
lot.
Much.
It builds their self-confidence.
Yes.
It shapes their positioning in society. And by in society, I mean in their relations to other people.
Yes.
They are less likely to be pushed around than other people. They have a presence of mind, so to speak. I mean, you would see I remember people then in secondary school, somebody would wear something that we would consider scandalous. And when you ask them, I did not have any problem with it.
I left my house.
My parents did not have any problem. My mom, they will tell you, my parents liked what I'm wearing. So we take our identities from our homes. So how your children feel, how children feel at home, really does drive or impact on who they are on the outside. So yes, it really does affect. When you see children, there are people who have daddy issues. It's from the home. They didn't pick it in the main road. You know, there are people who have mommy issues as well. Yes. They didn't pick it from outside. There are people who
came from the road.
Yes, you can see that their outlook on life as to certain things have been impacted by their relationships at home. Good or bad. Good, bad or neutral. You know, so if you find a place, and it doesn't necessarily mean that if they are pouring out the love,
you will still turn out.
It may not, you know, again, we're persons, you're individuals, you make up your mind as you go. It's just like you're building stuff. You're adding. It's plenty ingredients that make up a good soup, not one or the other.
Very true.
You know, a good food, whatever it is. There's so many things that come together to ensure that. So it's not just parental communication, parental relationships with children. But it's very important.
It is.
Yes, it does.
I remember growing up, I think that's why I was a very vocal child when it came to, if I'm talking with my mom and dad, I'll hear the way they're talking to me. Like, I already know at some certain point, if you're scolding me, your voice is getting higher. So if I'm relating with somebody and your voice is getting up, I'm like, no, don't talk to me like that. My parents don't talk to me like that. You're not about to, no.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with you that it does play a huge role. So what about, like, when we look at the academics? Does the parent-child relationship also, like, matter here?
When you say, well, again, singling out academics is every part of a child's life is important. The development of every single part of a child's life or of a person's life is important. So, I mean, you've heard cases of children who their grade starts to fall, maybe because their parents are not always at home, or their parents are fighting or in abusive relationships and stuff like that. So the general well-being of a child is tied to every single thing they experience at home. Yes. So if you're saying that, a requirement for parents to be more involved in their children's academics and it helping, the general outcome of that, I would say 110%. It's okay. It's important that your children. So there's this backstory. There's this lady who, when I was in secondary school, her house was close to our hostel. My hostel was in an estate.
Okay.
And for some reason, we used to speak to her. She's an Hausa woman. The husband married her. She's the proper married her from the village and brought her to Lagos. So she couldn't speak a word of English. And then she had two children, two little girls. I think one was about 4 at the time, and the other was about 4 or 5, and the other was a baby. Every English word she knew prior to her meeting her 5-year-old taught her. And that's because the 5-year-old have to do homework.
Yes.
She has to tell you, what. And because she was very particular about it, she would ask her in Hausa. That 5-year-old spoke very fluent Hausa. Very fluent Hausa. So because her mom was particular about wanting to help her with her schoolwork, so by the time we came, we didn't even really, in our interaction, we didn't have a lot to do because they've sort of had it figured out. It was just the major difficulty of like maybe explaining sums to her that the girl couldn't communicate well, that we'll now step in and help her understand. That child, to a large extent, as far as we knew, was very well-rounded. She wasn't missing out on anything. Not cultural, not academic. She was. So being involved in, and not just being involved from the place of, let me help you with your homework. As children go older, they pick up certain proclivities, if you may, like certain stuff that they like. So you find out some people would be more science inclined or arts inclined or finance inclined. Paying attention to the logic of it. So why? There are children who is a lazy stuff. You get it? It's just arts, commerce, economics.
For the people
English,
listening, arts
literature,
and commerce is not lazy.
And then they now they now juxtaposition it next to physics that they have been struggling with. They just know, you know what? I think I like to confront myself with what I know. You understand? So there are people who it's just a case. For instance, if they eliminated maths from the curriculum, I would do anything. I can be anybody. Just take maths out of the equation and we'll be fine. You get so? But there are people who choosing certain subjects. I mean, you have to drive your children to be better. If you know your child can be better at something, why let them settle for less because they want to take the lazy way out, but not be overbearing about it. So that's when I was like, seek to understand why before they get to the point where they are making those decisions.
I think I can totally relate to you saying the whole seek why, because growing up, my mom was very hands-on, like, okay, school, she wasn't joking with education. So if you fall short from what they've already like stationed you at, then it's a big problem. I remember one time my sister, instead of her to be reading, like you said, push them for the better. So my mom really wanted her to be doing physics. She was drawing. My sister was literally drawing. My mom would catch the book that she's in, bitter, stop drawing, read it. So next thing you know, my mom now sat down with my dad. I didn't even know until they called us for family meeting. And then you're like, yeah, we've read about this and we think you should do architecture. And like till now, my sister is currently studying PhD in architecture. So it's really like focusing on the why, like you said, so that your child, will get the best.
So, all those countless months of interviews, trying my best to get a job that is deserving of a person of my status, has been packaged into a podcast? A podcast? Really? But wait, maybe that's not a bad idea, Hey, if I can get a job around here, maybe I can be a podcaster.
Yes, your favorite episodes of The Professional is now a podcast series. Enjoy the hilariously exaggerated work interviews of a prospective employee as we journey through her entitled world of falls and fails. Listen to The Professional Podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
La. Does anyone know how much podcasters are paid these days?
So what are the long-term effects of a positive versus a strained parental relationship, and what are the future outcomes for a child?
I think an easy way to go would be to determine what would cause a strained relationship and
I
what
think
would determine a positive relationship.
Yeah, I think we should even dive into that. Like, what do you think causes like a strained parental-child relationship?
A combination of plenty things. Like I said, parents are hacking as they go to. They are learning on the ropes, and they're human beings as well. Sometimes their own flaws as human beings get in the way
of raising their children.
When a parent tells a child, do this, don't do this, the first thing that sometimes registers in the mind of most young people is, you want me to do what you want to do, not what I want to do. And we forget that our parents want the best. And they are not set up to first be your friends. They are set up to be your parents, to ensure that they can say to themselves that everything they want to do for this child to be the best thing that this child can be, I've done it. Even if it meant that the child did not like them. You're sure living well. You're sure okay.
It's
fine.
Roof over your head.
You understand, like you're able to take care of yourself. You're doing well. Your outcomes have turned out good. They're happy to do that. So sometimes that could be misinterpreted, to mean that, and that's not to say that there are not times when parents choose paths for their children, which in and of itself can be a bad thing. But the driving force of choosing a path for you is not always so that they can live their dreams vicariously through your lives, but so that they give you a better chance at life to excel and succeed. That's the first thing. Another thing too could be the fact that sometimes parents act like superheroes all the time, so they shield their children from seeing the side of them that is human as well. I think that vulnerability is a huge quality in parenting and childing.
There's
no word like that, but
and child upbringing.
Yes, not child upbringing. You being a child, you need to be vulnerable. Your parents also have to be vulnerable
I think it's very, very important.
Yes, if more children see, for instance, my mom had a thing where, even though my mom's own was false vulnerability as far as I'm concerned, she had a thing where when she was going to flog you, she would take her time
to explain
why she's going to flog you.
That was my dad.
Mommy, what's the point? You will still flog me.
Like, you see,
let's get it over and done.
This speech is not going to change it.
Do you understand?
Still land on my hand.
Let's get it over and done. Just flog you. Let's move on from
that. Was my dad.
But she took her time to. And sometimes, I'm not just telling you, I'm flogging you because you broke the plate or whatever it was. My mom didn't flog for breaking plates. My mom flogs for more stronger things, and she would have given you a long rope. But she would tell you how, for instance, the person stole or something. She will tell you how it made her feel, what the consequence of stealing generally is, how the Lord frowns at it. So she'll give like a full, not just this thing is bad, how it made her feel as well. It's not just, don't do this because it's bad. No, I don't like it. I think that it puts you in a position where it seems like you are not properly fed at home.
Yeah.
Or depending on whatever it is you stole. So that part was her moving away from just the object of thing, but to showing herself. Times when there are parents that I know that, I read something about a parent who the child came to ask for something that they didn't have. And the father said, I don't have it. I don't have the money to buy it. But Jesus can provide the money. So let's pray and ask him to give us the money.
That's a good idea.
And when they got the money, they called the child and told her, this is how Jesus provided the money. Now we are going to buy this for you. That's you teaching that child that, see, you don't carry a magic wand around.
And just ask and it shall be given.
You understand? Not, there's a process. So being vulnerable sort of helps help children see that their parents are human beings as well. They are going through it the same way you are going through it. Oh well, they are coming from going through it the same way you are just about to go through it.
I think just to speak on this whole vulnerability that you mentioned, I think it also comes like when we look at academics. So it's people like, during my time, I used to carry first position. Don't lie, mommy. It wasn't that great for you. Mommy, say the truth. So at some point, it started with her saying
parents
that was that.
That it was that great. My daddy was that great. My dad used to change the bulb in his university bathroom. My father went to a federal university.
Fair enough for cases that, but I feel like if you carry on, it makes you feel like if you fall short on the mark, it's like, I've literally let everybody down. But just to say that, I know it's not easy. I also, at some point in my life, I went through this phase. I got a C in this. You get me? Like if I have my child now, I would say, okay, when I wrote WAEC, my WAEC was not great. I had one this and this. But don't say, I got all A's. There are parents that will literally tell their children, I got all A's, yeah? You should do better. And that time, there was no electricity. We didn't have internet.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Is it?
I
feel we're talking on vulnerability. I think you should say as it is. Do you get me?
Well, yeah.
Not saying like, okay, I got all A's, everything was smooth for me. And
that's if
time,
you're lying, right?
That's if you're lying. That's what I'm saying. You want the angle they're coming for is for you. They want to push you to do better than they are. So they've already set the mark that everything was A and there was no lights back then. Oh my gosh, I have lights now. Why am I not getting A's?
That's the point.
There's a lot of pressure on the child.
There should be pressure on you.
Okay, it's true. We're talking to a parent advocate here, so fair enough.
Here's the thing. You do need the pressure, but it shouldn't take the place of vulnerability. If we're being very honest, for instance, my dad, and I know this for a fact because I met my grandpa. My father have only one shoe sander for the entire school year, not term, the entire school year. Because if it cuts, my brother, you will walk with your leg to school. Nobody's gonna look at you.
Yeah.
You get so. My dad used to talk to us about stuff. My dad is a keeper. I inherited it from him. About being careful about your stuff. From that angle, he's like, you have enough. Yes, you live in a time where you can go back and buy you another one, but that doesn't mean you should be careless with it. Because right now, if you want to find anything in my house, the day they gave it, the day they took the records of where, ask my daddy, he knows where it is. He knows. He will tell you exactly the time and place and season. And that's an important trait to learn. So even though I understand that, you live in different times, quite all right. But there still has to be the balance where it's not an excuse, because most people are looking for an excuse to slack. Why settle for a C when you can work hard enough and get an A?
Fair enough.
So there's I don't even need to encourage you to work. Do you know how much you're paying as school fees? That time, some of them, they went to school for free. It's a lot. You understand? So you do have to be able to manage that expectation. Be vulnerable. Another thing I would even liken vulnerability more to sometimes is even life experiences.
They were a lot of those talks.
It's like I feel like life experiences, like how I remember after I just gotten out of school. First of all, I had an extra year due to no fault of mine, but it is what it is. I had an extra year, and I'd come out. So I had my life planned out before final, like this and this. I even had internship options and everything. So as I now have extra year, I have to go back to drawing board. But that time, drawing board was not drawing again.
Oh no!
So it was a bit difficult. So I finished serving, and I hadn't gotten a job at the time, and I was just feeling sorry for myself. And I just called my dad one day. Oh no, I think my dad called me on the phone. I was in my cousin's place, and I just started crying. I don't think my father has seen me cry like that since I was a child, because I'm I'm a crybaby, but I'm a tough girl. I'm the one that is audacious. And then my dad was on the phone for a while. And after a while, he now said, when I calmed down, he now said, Vicky, your life is only just beginning.
It's just beginning. That's what we're talking about, the whole pressure. Trying to figure it out so young.
Like, your life is literally only just beginning. And I think that was it was the second time I was hearing it, but it came home to me. My father went to the university. My father went to the university at 26. And he paid his way through school. So he came out at 10. My father didn't serve because he came out just at the cut-off mark age for service. And my dad was like, Vicky, nothing happened. I'm good. And I could connect with that. So it gave me a breather to understand that, hey, calm down. Because at that time I was feeling like I was disappointing my parents because, I mean,
paid so much.
Yeah, you had come and they had expectations of you. Sometimes not necessarily because, not from a bad place, but just from the place of you came a star girl. You're doing well in school. You were doing so well. You're acing debating society.
Now?
You are there. Choir. You are there. Bible study. So even you have expectation, but you also not feel like your parents also have that same expectation of you as well. But him letting me know that, see, sometimes as you have arranged life can arrange itself.
It can.
So wake up, smell the coffee, take a deep breath, realign, and you'll be good. You have not failed. You are not yet a failure. It sort of made me closer to him, which I would even say is how positive relationship with parents can be formed. I would say that on my dad's part, as I got older, I would say it was my dad who started, who put out the first, the stretch out his hand, in fellowship, where I started paying attention to us. Usually, if you come and ask, just like you did to my brother that day, and it's a topic that my daddy doesn't care for, understand, or agree with, it usually ends with, it's not going to work. Okay, bye.
That's the end.
It's not a debate. With my mom, we can go back and forth, but mommy is not this one, mommy is not that. My daddy has said no.
No is no.
We've moved on from the conversation. That's it. You get.
I think another cause for a strained parent-child relationship would be they also didn't have a good one growing up. So it's more of like you're going to pass on what you have.
I won't say they didn't have a good one. They just had, they didn't have any expectation. That's why I said it has switched across generations.
Facts.
It was not that deep, really. All this, my mommy carry me, back me, feed me, put the food in my mouth, sit down with me for 5 hours, place my hair. It really wasn't a need of that generation. You understand? The expectations of children wasn't the same at the time. Yeah. But now, you've gone back to a generation that, or like times have kept switching up, according to the time. Because when I'm saying now, it's not 2000 babies. The 80s and 90s babies. In fact, some of the 70s babies, they're the ones that even started this parenting that is a bit more interactive. Yes. You understand? Because in those times, even think about it back to medieval times, even in Bible times, as you would think of. You're not saying you should go left, you're going right. For crying out loud, the Bible talks about Saul throwing a javelin at, what's his name? Was it javelin? Something at Jonathan. Because Jonathan refused to tell him where David was. Do you have time to be sitting out to be petting you? You understand what I mean? So the needs of parents, it has shifted over time.
100%.
And it's the times that have bettered all the needs. So the needs for more interactive parenting. Yeah. Like for my mom now, my mom was not, I won't say that she was close to her parents, she wasn't not close to them.
Literally what I was about to say. My mom would say that, because during the period I was closer to my dad than I was to my mom, she was like, there was a conversation I was having with my dad. I remember a day I was just ranting with my dad, like, oh my gosh, I'm not close to her, blah, blah, blah. Not saying one time we not all called, like she called all of us in meetings, like, I wasn't even close to my mom. So something as per, like the way she made it seem is per, like she didn't have what to give. That's what I was trying to point out. Like she didn't have what to give. Like she's just learning to the so how was school? What did you guys do? Because it was just like, oh, have you done your assignment? Let me see it. So when we had that conversation, she was like, I didn't have that. It was like, okay, do this, you do it. It wasn't the okay, let's kind of also
they're parenting a very different generation. Yes, so I would say that
plays a part.
It is just paying attention to conversations like that help on the one hand. Another thing too is, so for positive relationship is even the children being intentional about communicating. Like, we must know that it's hard. It's not easy for them. And I don't mean this as adults. I mean even with the smallest. Your parents spend. There's no point in your life where your parents are not worried about you.
Yeah.
You are in school. They are thinking, who are they mingling with?
Yeah.
What did they eat? How did they eat it? So when they're asking you certain things, sometimes it's not duty. They truly are. They want to know. They want to be involved in what's going on. So give them some too.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to be about how you feel or what you're doing. It could actually also switch from you starting a conversation about topics that they are familiar with. True. Which is what happened with me and my dad. Me and my dad today, people listen to me and my dad talk. Me and my father can talk for 3 hours on end, and we're good. We're going back and forth.
I think it's max for my parents like 1 hour 30 minutes. No, I can't do more than that. I can
be there with my dad, and we're going across topics. Talking about it, what I think, and across generations. You understand what I mean? So it's not sometimes not even anything directly related to me. It could just be a topic that he's familiar with, or a topic that he understands, or it could be him trying to understand a logic that we're postulating. You get, and we sit down and we examine it. That's one way to sort of start to bridge it. I would say that especially for people, younger people who have parents who come from a slightly more older generation, don't expect them to. They are mostly set in their ways. Be willing to do the work. So go out of your way to pay attention to growing it, because that's one of the reasons why I say I'm close to both my parents. The same principles apply. The application of those principles may be different, but the same principles apply. For instance, when my dad comes to complain to me about something, he's asking both my thoughts, my advice, and to tell him if he was wrong. When my mom, the minute my mom is scolding, coming to complain to me about something, whether it's about us or anybody or anything, she's asking for validation.
What she did was,
do you understand? Those are these two different people, And then here's the thing. Once I'm done validating her in that moment, I can come back to that conversation later and say, however, mommy, I think you could have done this differently. She's more inclined to listen to me
than on that spot when she's asking
than in that moment.
Yeah.
But the same rule applies, just the application. One person is easier, would receive easily. The other person may want to hear it later. It's not in that moment when I'm saying that, I did so. Just like me, if I've scolded myself. So if you're scolding me after I've scolded myself, I'm lost.
True.
You get what I mean? So be the one who pays attention to building it, because here's the caveat for a lot of young people who run away from parental relationships. They are going to replicate what their parents did.
Yes.
Because the parents that they have is the only parents that they know.
That's the hard
Even
truth.
if you looked at your friend's parents, your cousin's parents, your relationship aside, they didn't parent you per se. It's your mommy and daddy. So if you don't try to switch that up, you would end up being a parent too and have the same issues.
Same relationship with your child.
Yes.
But do you also think there's a very thin line with, having a proper balanced parent-child relationship where you also the parents, you don't do this, and then some parents just want to be overly friendly with their child, and mommy, this happening, they can share everything, and then they cross that boundary that the child starts to disrespect them. Do you think that there's that thin line?
Yes, there's a thin line, because human beings will be human beings. It's not even just the principle of parenting or whatever, So again, I work in human resources, and there's something that I say to people. As much as we try to encourage your managers, line managers, or bosses to have a functional relationship with you, when you find a line manager or a boss who is going out of their way to be friendly with you, you have to, not overly, just going out of their way to be friendly. They're not being overly friendly. It's not in their nature to be friendly, but they are trying their best to, so that they can have a productive work relationship with you. You have to draw mental lines in your head, mental boundaries, and know that as much as this person is being friendly with me, there are lines I can't cross or I shouldn't cross.
Yes.
The same thing too. That's why I remember Michelle Mama said something one time in an interview. She was talking about how her daughter, I think they asked her how, her relationship with daughter evolved, and she was like, there are times when her dad didn't want to talk to her and everything. She looked at her and said, I think daughter said she was going to be friends with her or something. She said,
I'm not your friend.
I'm not your friend. I have way too many friends in my life. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to be a parent. So in this quest for balance, it's important that both parents and children understand that your parents are there to be your parent first. That's their primary responsibility. Everything else comes after. Being friends with you, liking what you do, being your after.
After
their
that
first
parent.
role. So I think that's the voice that should resound in their heads. To say, so when they're striving for a relationship, so that it helps them create the balance. And for the child as well, there's some things that you want. Be careful to know that, there are things not to do or not to say. And I would also say extend your parents grace.
True.
Extend them grace. They are learning as they go.
Oh, so many insightful words. So for people that are listening and they have a strained parent-child relationship, so what do you think should be their solutions? How do they, get a better, relationship with their child, both for the parents listening and for the children listening too?
So we're talking about grown children now, like adults.
No, I'm looking at like secondary school, because I think from secondary school is a very key factor, because you're going to now start going into university and now exploring yourself. So what should be the solutions to their relationship? I
feel like we've touched on it back and forth as we've talked, but I think one of the things I'll say is, just as I said before, children, extend grace to your parents. Parents, extend grace to your children. I told my mom something one time. I said, Mommy, you have to at some point believe that you have raised us well enough not to embarrass you. You have to have peace in that. You can't always worry that at the earliest opportunity we would mess up. Just make your peace with that, so to speak. So I think that the parents need to become more interested in the children. Not just from the place of their well-being, but consider their well, not just as a responsibility, but as people. So why do they like the things that they like? Try to see if you can talk with them, not talk at them, talk with them. If you find that you're hitting a bottleneck, take a break. I can't say that. Another thing I want to say is, I'm not an expert at this because I don't have children, and I haven't raised any child. I can only speak to, ideologies that I think back and forth could help. So I can't necessarily, I'm not an authority on this.
Yes.
But I can just say paying attention. And like I said with the children, being more intentional to your parents. Again, every time, I think another problem with teenagers, sometimes we want to grow up, want to be treated as adults really fast.
Yes.
You don't need to say that you're an adult to be treated as such. Just behave like one. Pay attention to your parents. You want to be an adult, yet they will still wake you up in the morning to go and take your bath. You want to be an adult, and the same things that they've been talking to you about, you're still doing it.
Funny enough, this what you're literally saying. Mom will say, okay, you're an adult, Abby, but you're still behaving like a child of my mom.
Exactly. You're still sulking, as opposed to you wiping the sulk off your face and going to say, okay, Mommy, I'm sorry I did this, but let's talk about it a bit more. You understand what I mean? You're not paying attention to understanding. Understanding times and seasons. There's a place for certain types of conversation. Understand that it's not every time they talk about. Understand your parents have a right to feel bad. They have a right to feel disappointed, and it's not just because they are paying your school fees, but because you matter to them.
Yes.
They will feel bad if at work they mess up. They will feel bad if they have a bad day.
Yes.
It's a feeling all true. So it's not even just from the place, because you hear people say careless things like, is it because you are? It's not because. It's really not because you are there. It's because you're a human being and you're connected to their lives. And if your life doesn't do well, it affects them too. They feel bad about it. So just extending grace to each other and being intentional, desiring it. So knowing that as you're building it, you go lost.
Yes.
You will make mistakes. They would make mistakes. Extending grace.
So I think just to finish up, I just have this quick question to ask you, because I think every parent, I'm not sure, they told me, what was your response when your mom said, the way you're treating me, your child will treat you the same way? Did you say amen or God forbid?
My mom didn't say.
They did. My
mom didn't say that.
Especially when we're doing something, but my mom would say, the same way you're treating me, they'll treat you. I said, God forbid, God forbid.
Oh, wow.
I said, God forbid.
That's to tell you,
I know what I'm doing.
No, my mom didn't say that.
Oh, wow.
My parents didn't have no.
No, thank you so much for coming on this episode. We would love to have you again. It was such an insightful, episode. And for all our listeners out there, like she said, for a child, lend out your hands for your parents, to build that relationship. And for the parents to just be conscious enough to ask the why, just be looking at their lives and all that. Thank you so much for coming on. Really happy to have you. Bye, guys. Growing Up Nigerian.